for the Arab region to begin with, for the geographical region of the Middle East, and for the world at large, because Egypt is a very important country in the world. And the way Turkey looks at it, or the need to be done for Egypt, is not try to give advice to Egypt, because Egyptians do not need advice. They know their way, to stand by Egypt and to cooperate with Egypt in order to cross this difficult period without making it more difficult for Egypt and without interfering in the internal affairs of Egypt, and economically cooperate with Egypt in order to, at least in the economic field, there are political side, social side, and economic side, at least by cooperating with Egyptian economic actors, that's to say traders and the investors, etc., and facilitate Egypt's task to cross this period with lesser economic difficulties.
So you have just mentioned the Egyptian effect on the whole Arab scene. How do you see that effect, and what would you say if we had a closer look at the Syrian scene?
Actually, the dynamics of the revolution or problems in Syria have different sources, so it's not the same. And the results will not be the same either. In Egypt, there is no risk of two sides in the society to clash, whereas in Syria there is such a danger. Egyptian society is not divided into pieces, and Egypt has a tradition of tolerance between the communities. I hope that this tradition will not erode away and will not be diminished. And Syrian development, there if Bashar al-Assad listens to the suggestions made by the friendly countries, including Turkey, to emerge as a hero from this crisis by carrying out the reforms that are requested by the people in the street, so the problem will be solved much easier.
So if we get back to the Egyptian scene, some people say that there's much resemblance between the Egyptian model and the Turkish model, especially after the revolution. What would you say about these opinions?
I don't think that the experience of one country could be copied exactly in another country. However, in Turkey, something very important happened since 10 or 11 years now. When Justice and Development Party, and I am one of the founders of the party, we were 72 of us together with Mr. Erdogan and myself to establish this party. When we established this party, we decided to embrace as big a segment of the Turkish society as possible. When we carried out a public opinion poll in the year 2000, we found out that 46% of the Turkish population was discontent with the then existing political parties, and they were in search of a new political formation. And we asked further questions and found out what was their expectation. We found out that the biggest priority was food, security, justice, employment, and that type of thing. Religious questions were not priority issues. So we decided to establish the party on the basis of the expectation of the people, leaving the question of the religion to themselves. Religion has to be lived between individuals and their God. It should not be mixed with the state affairs. For this reason, when we were drafting the program of the party, we avoided any reference to religion in the party program. If one of the parties succeeds in doing the same, that's to say, to try to embrace Muslims, Copts, Jews, and all other people, and try to answer their expectation, then they may also be as successful as our party has become in Turkey.
Establishing a constitution is one of the most important things that Egypt needs right now in this period. What would you say about establishing a constitution, especially after the rise of some political or let's say some religious powers that would come to the front in the Egyptian scene? And how do you see the fears of some people that if the political powers come at the front of the Egyptian political scene, that they might establish a constitution that might serve their interests, not the public interest? How do you see these fears?
I don't share this fear, because now that Egyptians learned to voice their concerns, if in the future one of the parties does what you say, then in the subsequent election this party will be voted down, and another party which will say, when I come to power, I will undo all these things, and I will bring Egypt to the situation that was before this party came to power.